Hola, hola, bienvenidos una vez más a nuestros programas aquí a Los Originales Radio. And today I'm going to be alternating between Spanish and English because we have an English speaker. As you guys know, we usually do sometimes. So I'll be alternating between the two languages. That way more of you guys can receive the information. But first, some announcements, algunos anuncios. Recuerden seguirnos en nuestras redes sociales a través de Facebook como Community Health Worker Coalition for Migrants and Refugees y también nos puede estar siguiendo en YouTube como CHW Coalition for Migrants and Refugees y también nos puede estar escuchando por nuestra página chwcoalition.org. So you can find us all throughout our social media via Facebook and YouTube as Community Health Workers Coalition for Migrants and Refugees. Recuerde que también nos puede escuchar por Alexa. Todo lo que tiene que decir es Alexa, abre los originales HW Radio y nos puede escuchar ahí. Remember, you can also listen us through Alexa. All you have to say is Alexa, play los originales HW Radio, and then you can listen to our daily programs from there. And then talking about programs, remember we have daily programs 1:30 from 2:30, Monday to Friday. Como ya saben ustedes, tenemos programas de la 1:30 a las 2:30 de lunes a viernes. So Monday, Talking with Doctora Ponce. Tuesday, Something Personal with Sandra Martinez. Wednesday, Mental Health with Marisol Collante. Thursday, Youth Talking with Maricruz Morales. And then Friday, The Colors of the Community by Omar Garcia. Entonces, asegúrense que nos esté escuchando. Y bueno, let's get started with our program today. I invited someone special and someone that I know for a while now that I met back in high school from a program that I participated during summer in Hawaii. So I'm really excited to introduce him to you guys. And also a lot of people were waiting for this program to learn about this for their children, their youth, their students. So ahora voy a introducir a una persona muy especial que he conocido ya durante años. Yo lo conozco desde la high school en un programa que hice durante el verano en Hawaii. Entonces, varias gente quería aprender sobre este programa pues para sus hijos, los estudiantes. Entonces hoy quiero pues traerles esta información para que la conozcan. So let's welcome Michael Richards. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Mary. How good to see you again.
I know, it's really great to see you after so many years.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I know you have a really busy schedule, and it took us a long time to coordinate this, but I'm really happy we did. And I'm really happy to share this with the community that I work with. And I'm sure a lot of them will take advantage.
Good.
Entonces le estaba compartiendo a Michael que me da mucho gusto tenerlo aquí. Yo sé que él tiene como un horario muy apretado, entonces me da mucho gusto que él pudo hacer tiempo para venir aquí hoy y para que todos ustedes aprendan sobre este programa y pues tomen ventaja. All right, so let's get started. Tell us about SCOA, or more known as Science Camps of America.
Sure. So Science Camps of America, we're a nonprofit. We were founded in 2012 and started doing science camps the next year in 2013. So this summer marked our 11th year of science camp. And we have several camps now. So we started with just the camp you went to, which is the overnight camp on the Big Island of Hawaii for high school students. And we've had that every year since then. About, I think, 2018, we started offering day camps for middle school kids. So we've been doing that also. Those have been on the island of Oahu. But both camps have basically the same idea, which is to get kids outside and hands-on and doing science activities and making them a lot of fun to do. And to get them inspired and get them excited about science camp. they're kind of different missions. For the middle school camp, the kids are 6th to 8th grade, so mostly we just try to do things that keep them excited about science, right? And keep them wanting to keep learning more about science. And then we get into high school, and it becomes a little bit more about what being a scientist or being in the science field might be like a little bit. So we teach them how we go out and we do field science and how we collect data, and we get into the more serious aspects of science in terms of, for young people, like career. And we want them to, a lot of kids go, I want to be a scientist, but they have no clue what that looks like or what it means. So we try to give them a clue about that. And so yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing this for all these years.
Good. So I'm just gonna translate a little bit about that Spanish. So Michael nos cuenta que SCOA es un campamento de ciencias basado en Hawái. El campamento que yo asistí en el 2016 ha cambiado un poquito. Antes a ese campamento que yo asistí era un campamento que duraba aproximadamente 10 días de cada sesión. Y obviamente hacen que los niños se queden ahí. Entonces ahora implementaron más campamentos. Ese campamento era para los muchachos en high school. Ahora implementaron un campamento que solamente es durante el día para los jóvenes que están en middle school. Entonces, es un poquito sobre eso, nos está contando la diferencia entre los dos campamentos, que el de día se concentra más en involucrar a los muchachos en que salgan afuera, a diferencia al de afuera que se concentra más en ayudar a los muchachos a que pues obviamente colecten data, colecten números, aprendan más y también que les ayude un poquito más a tomar decisiones sobre la carrera. Well, thank you, Michael, for introducing SCOA to us. Now, tell us about yourself. Maybe introduce us a little bit about your role in SCOA.
Sure. Well, this is my second career, obviously. Since I started in 2012, I wasn't a youngster then, and I'm certainly not a youngster now. So I had been in the software business for many years, for 30 years, and I really started looking for something I could do that got me away from a computer screen. And so I started looking around at different things that I could do. And so it was really very interesting. What got me started on this was that I took a class, a geology class at just a community college, just because I'm interested in the subject. And I felt so awful for the professor because there were like 30 people in the class, and 2 of us would be paying attention to him, and 28 others are staring into their screens looking at social media. And this was every class. And I felt so bad for the teacher. I'm like, how can he even teach this way, right? But then we went on a field trip, and it was a 5-day trip to Hawaii Island, to the Big Island. And the entire class, I was just amazed at the change, the difference when the instruction got away from just a lecture in a classroom and turned into hands-on activities out in the field. Every single person from the youngest to the oldest was totally engaged in it. And the professor himself, I could just see, kind of came alive and just enjoyed the process of teaching in the field so much. And it made me realize at that point that this is really important, that people, we got to get out of the classroom. We got to try some other ways. And I actually, on that trip, I went up to the professor and I said, this is great. I can't believe how everyone's changed so much, and they were never interested in class. And he's like, it's always like this, right? He'd been doing this for many, many years. And then he said, but I wish we could do this, catch them when they're younger and do this when they're younger. And that's when the kind of light bulb went off in my head. And I said I could do this, take his 5-day field trip and kind of expand it and turn it into a summer camp for high school kids. And so with his help, we started the nonprofit and started the camp. And my job has been, I'm the camp director. So it's like a blast to do. I tell people it's the best job in the world. So I really like doing it. So I do, of course, you get the question, what do you do all year long? What do you do the rest of the year? But of course, I spend the rest of the year trying to make sure that the summer works. So that covers everything from getting staffing and programming changes and field trip planning, and of course, marketing to get the kids to come to camp. We do scholarships, so there's the whole scholarship management. So there's a lot that I do in that all year round before I get to go to camp and have the fun part of being out in the field and teaching and side by side with the campers.
Yeah, well, that's a really exciting story. Let me translate. So Michael nos estaba contando la historia de cómo cómo esta organización empezó. Es una non-profit. We're also a non-profit here at the Community Health Workers Coalition. Entonces él nos estaba contando que él durante una clase pues vio como muchos estudiantes no estaban poniendo atención. Y cuando el maestro, el profesor los llevó como a una actividad afuera, vio como todos, a diferencia de la clase, pues todos estaban involucrados, estaban poniendo atención. Y eso es cuando a él le dio como esa idea de comenzar un campamento donde todos estuvieran en el afuera, con actividades que involucraran a todos los jóvenes en pues las actividades afuera. Y pues eso es lo que ayudó a crear esta organización. Y pues más adelante él nos va a contar un poquito más sobre oportunidades de becas y de todo eso. So thank you so much, Michael, for telling us that story. Now, tell us a little bit more. You mentioned scholarships and you mentioned also marketing to, find students or like youth around other states to come to the camp. How do you do that? And then I know from when I attended the camp, there was students from like all over the states. Sorry. How do you market that for other students to come, not only students from the islands?
Well, historically, we've got about 40% of the kids have all come from Hawaii. And the rest have come from all over the United States, as well as 11 different countries that people have come to camp from. Getting the word out is a bit of a challenge. We do Google advertising. That's one way we do market the program. And we market the program on some social media sites like Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and so forth. Those do pretty well, the social media sites at getting people in. But I would say the biggest way people hear about us is just they do a Google search. Like if you type science camp, there aren't a lot of them around the world. So that's usually what people tell me is the most common way that they find us. So we try to, this year we just updated our website. We try to keep that up to date, and of course there's also word of mouth. So it's very interesting to get brothers and sisters of former campers, and we haven't been around long enough to get the children of former campers, but maybe in another decade we will.
Yeah, I remember my brother. He's much younger than me, and by the time he wanted to go, COVID hit. So he wasn't able to attend. But yeah, that's how I remember I found you guys. My sister did an internship in Florida, and then she told me, "Oh, like you can also do a summer program to kind of like add to your college applications by the time you apply." And I was like, okay, yeah, but like I don't want to go to Florida. I don't really like Florida, right. So I'll look somewhere else. And that's how I found you guys, through a Google search, as you mentioned. And you also mentioned your website, which I'm attaching here. And actually, in the last interview that I mentioned, where I told people I was inviting you to announce this camp where they can find more information, they were asking me, how can they know if it's like, obviously, their children going alone to a different state? How can they assure themselves that this program is, in other words, real, I guess?
Sure. Well, um, that's an important thing to do, especially you're putting your child on an airplane and sending them off, and you want to be reassured that there's people who are responsible on the other end of that. So we've worked hard to try and do that. Obviously, professionalism at every step of the way helps. We have tried to, we're very public and transparent in terms of who our board of directors is, and we publish our finances on a public website. We have reviews that we don't edit, right? And just pick the good ones. So I think you do all those things. We've tried to put together our board of directors, which is made up of very reputable people who wouldn't put their name on it unless they felt assured. So I think that if I was a parent, I would look at that Who We Are page, right, or About Us page, and look at the people involved, and I would use that as a guide. I would also, on the same topic, say that, we've been doing this for all these years, and parents have been putting their children on airplanes to come and visit us. And I think it's actually a really good experience for the student, right? To have that experience of traveling alone. I think it's one that gives you a lot of confidence moving forward in life. You can say, hey, I can get on a plane, make some changes in airports and get from here to there. And hey, you know what? I saw a lot of interesting people. It was kind of fun to eat where I wanted to eat, and not have my parents making those decisions for me. And I think whether you're a younger camper, 13, 14, or an older one at 17, 18, it's a good learning experience and just fun experience. And I think traveling alone, or at least having some experience at that, is something that a skill everyone should have. So, do you remember when you were at camp, we taught you how to check the oil in the car and the air pressure in the tires? Do you remember that?
I remember learning all of that. I just don't remember what I learned.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes I want to check my oil and stuff, and my boyfriend wants to teach me. I'm like, I learned this, I can, but I just don't remember what to look for. But I remember they taught us with a napkin and stuff. Yeah, I remember all of that.
We try to share a lot of practical things too. It's not just science, right? But take this moment where kids are out on their own for the first time, or one of the first times, and have them learn some practical skills as well as some science along the way. So that's a kind of fun part of things.
Yeah, I also remember you guys did kind of a chart for us to help with kitchen chores and cleaning and all of that.
Yeah. In fact,
something that was also
one of my favorite stories I like to tell is from a girl who went. Oh, sorry. There's a girl who went to camp. There's the girl who went to camp with you named Savannah. I don't know if you remember her or not, but I always remember because 2 days after camp ended, I got a call from her mom. And her mom said, I just have to tell you this story. We got up this morning and we're sitting around the breakfast table, and Savannah says, Dad, can I go check the oil in your car and make sure it's okay? And she ran outside and did it. And the mom was like so impressed, she called me and had to share that story with me. So it's kind of funny.
One story I probably never share with any of you guys that I met at camp. But when I was there for 3 weeks, right? Because I was there for both sessions. And my parents picked me up at the airport once I arrived to Seattle. And I started crying. And they were like, "Why are you crying? Are you crying because you just missed us?" Like, no, I'm crying because I want to go back.
Oh,
Because it was like such a fun experience. And I think this is like something useful that parents or like students who are hearing about this or like this interview will find interesting. But when I applied camp, I honestly kind of just did it to, as I mentioned, growth my curriculum for when applying to college. So I kind of expected it to be not something so fun. I I obviously had read like the website, and I had read that it was gonna be like a field experience, like a hands-on activities and all of that. But I didn't expect it like science to be fun, you know. Learning and like being out every day, learning on the field. Obviously, also getting to learn about Hawaii, its culture, everything, all of that combined, it just made like the camp like not boring at all, and to just learn so much. And I mean, as a 16-year-old back then, what I thought camp, like a science camp, was gonna be was totally the opposite.
yeah. It's really I think the intangibles that mean even more than the science. And that's fine with me. The science is kind of where everybody kind of gathers because that's what we have in common, right? Nobody comes to science camp because they hate science. They all have an interest in it. But once you get there, it's just like you were saying, there's the Hawaiian culture aspect. And there's, of course, the beauty of Hawaii and all the beautiful places and swimming in the ocean and the vistas of mountains and volcanoes and all those other things that are a huge part of it. And of course, then there's one of the biggest intangibles, which I think has so much value, is when you arrive at camp, you're kind of completely cut off from your daily life, right? And that includes this kind of, we all kind of have this constant pressure on ourselves where we have to make like 500 decisions every day. Everything from, what am I going to wear today? Right? What am I going to have for breakfast? Where am I going to go for lunch? What, and then, I mean, not even touching on the things at work or school or, you know, all these things. We're making all these decisions about everything. And that's a lot of pressure. Then you get to camp and all of a sudden you don't have that. Everything you have is basically decided for you. This is what we're going to do today. This is what we're going to eat today. This is what time you're going to get up. This is what you have to wear today. This is what, you know, where you're, you know, what chores you have to do, like you mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly you don't have to make those decisions, right? And what that does is it frees up our, I like to say, frees up our soul for looking around us and interacting with the people around us more. And that's what develops in just a few days. You become so close to the other people at camp. And you just have this freedom of action without decision making, which is really pretty cool.
Yeah, of course. And I just want to translate. I've been so like diving into the conversation. I forgot to translate some
I'm
stuff.
going too long. It's okay.
I'm just gonna translate some short points. Entonces, le contaba a Michael que estaba tan en la conversación que se me olvidó trasladar al español, pero solo unos puntos que estábamos mencionando de cómo funciona el campamento, de mi experiencia personal, que yo me inscribí al campamento de ciencias solo como para, perdón, para tener experiencia para cuando aplicar al colegio, para mi experiencia que ven durante las aplicaciones, durante todos los trámites. Y no esperaba como que un campamento de ciencias fuera divertido, fuera aprender algo, sino que pero ya cuando llegué a ese lugar, aprendiendo todo sobre especialmente estando en Hawái, aprendiendo sobre la isla, sobre la cultura de Hawái, sobre los lugares, sobre todo lo que aprendemos en el campamento, porque siempre todos los días estábamos afuera viendo de un lugar a otro. Aprendí muchísimo y mi experiencia fue totalmente diferente a lo que yo pues tenía. Así que es de eso lo que nos platica un poquito Michael, que es totalmente algo que no esperas y aprendes de todo. Entonces ahorita vamos a estar hablando sobre las aplicaciones, sobre las oportunidades de becas para que ustedes estén enterados y tienen algún estudiante o un hijo que esté interesado en esto. So hopefully I got everything I wanted to say there because it was long. But just to kind of go for it a little bit, I guess we have talked about how SCOA was founded, how what's your role in it, what's sort of like the purpose, what do we do? But just kind of in short, just kind of tell us a little bit about the overnight camp, because I'm thinking that's what the one that obviously people from here from the audience are the ones more interested in.
Right.
What is the camp? What does it consist of? How long is it? And then we'll talk a little bit later about applications and then scholarships.
Sure. Okay, so the camp starts July 1st, and we have 2 sessions. Each session is 10 days. The first session is land and sea, and the second session is air and space. So those topics kind of cover generally what we're going to do, although there's some overlap between them. It's on, as we mentioned, it's on Hawaii Island. The students have to be between ages 13 and 17, or another way to look at it is grades 8 to 12, going into grades 8 to 12. So each session has a cost of $2,795. So there are quite a lot of scholarship opportunities though. So we spend quite a bit of the year raising funds for scholarships. The scholarships, you can apply, anyone can apply online. We have a online form to apply. And then about February, March, we have a group of people who we call the scholarship committee that kind of look through the scholarships and award them based on what we've seen. So the criteria, of course, there's a financial need criteria, which honestly, just about everybody who applies has a financial need. So then we kind of look at, we ask a series of questions on the application, and we look at those questions really carefully because we want to award the scholarships to the students who we're sure really want to come to camp. You can kind of tell when they've been kind of told to answer that because by their parents, because their parents want them to go to camp. So we try to filter those out and get the ones who have the genuine interest. We raise funds from foundations and grants and so forth that we can award to students who apply. But students also should help themselves. That's a big factor. So when we're evaluating scholarship applications, we might look to say, oh, well, this student has raised, and they will put that in the application, they've raised $500 of their own doing bake sales or car washes or things like that. Or we had a student last year who he applied to like 6 different organizations for scholarships, and 3 of them ended up giving him money toward coming to camp. So when we actually added to those. He wrote to me and he said, I've raised this much money, I need this much more, can you help? And we looked at him, we said, look, he has worked really hard to get that money that he has. This kid really wants to come to camp. So we did give him a few more $100 to help him come to camp. So that's my best advice, is help yourself and then share that with us, that you're helping yourself get to camp. So that's my advice for anyone who's interested in and would like to get a scholarship. We're very proud of the fact that 50% of everyone who's come to camp over the last 11 years, 50% of them have received a partial or a full scholarship. So we pride ourselves on that. From the very beginning, we didn't want this just to be a camp for people who can, only the people who can afford it. So raising funds is a big issue. Raising funds for scholarships is probably what I spend more time during the year on than anything else.
Yeah, and I think thank you, Michael, for that information. We'll touch a little bit more on that in a bit. But I think one point that you mentioned that I think is really important is that youth have to submit applications and then they get chosen based on that, right? I remember back then when I applied, I was in my junior year, so it kind of helped me with my curriculum for my college application. But since then, I wanted to major in marine biology. That was also a way to help me decide if I wanted to lean towards that. And at the time, it did help me because during my first, 1 year and a half, I kind of major or like took classes based on biology. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for me, but at the time, it helped me sort of also make that decision. So I think it's also really important that you mentioned that. And I don't think it's only going to help them during the camp, but as you mentioned, some of the youth that wanted to go did work of their own, so that even before going to the camp and before submitting the application, it's already showing you how hard these people are willing to work to go to the camp, right?
It does. It does. It's really interesting. I find reading the applications is really a fascinating process. It's maybe someday I'll write a book just based on application information, what people wrote.
That'd be really interesting to read. So I'm just going to translate a little bit about this. Entonces ahora estamos hablando del campamento en sí. Pueden encontrarlos en línea como sciencecampsamerica.com. El campamento consiste en 2 sesiones, cada uno dura 10 días. La primera se trata de tierra y mar y la segunda de aire y espacio. Entonces, nuevamente, cada una son de 10 días que viajan a la isla de Hawái y obviamente se quedan ahí hasta que el campamento acabe. Hoy hay oportunidades como cuando yo lo tomé en ese tiempo que pueden quedarse para las 2 sesiones si está la oportunidad económica, y menciono económica porque cada una de estas sesiones cuesta $2,795, lo cual puede escuchar mucho, pero va a ser mi experiencia en ese tiempo. Esto es lo que pagué, más aparte de mi boleto, que no fue mucho, pero esto es lo que pagué obviamente por estadía, comida, y obviamente ver todos los lugares que vi durante todos esos días. Entonces hay que tomar eso en cuenta. Hay becas disponibles. Para poder ayudar a esta asistencia, puede que te paguen a toda una sesión, puede que te ayuden a pagar las 2 sesiones completas, así que bajo su página hay más información. And just to clarify, Michael, when should you start applying or submitting applications to the program?
There's not like a first come, first serve, but I would say make sure you've applied by February 1st at the latest. So we accept applications all the year round, but after we try to do that first round of awards in February or March so people can plan. But we continue trying to raise money. So we usually have another round April or May with whatever we've managed to raise in between.
Okay, and then with the applications being turned in, should they be applying to scholarships at the same time they're applying to the program, or should they wait until they get accepted to the program?
It kind of depends a little bit on the timing. So if you're you should definitely do the scholarship application first, right? If you're up until February, March, That's all you really need to do. After that, though, you want to apply to the program so that you can reserve a space, right? So you don't want to be in the situation where you've applied for the scholarship, but we fill up the camp before you get awarded anything, right? So by applying for the program, it saves a spot till you hear about the application for the scholarship.
All right,
So,
perfect.
yeah.
Entonces, le estaba preguntando sobre las aplicaciones. Dicen que ellos mayormente reciben aplicaciones durante todo el año, pero obviamente las paran en un cierto tiempo para poder revisarlas, porque que apliques a este programa no quiere decir que ya tienes una entrada automática, sino obviamente ellos tienen que revisar todas las aplicaciones que se están entregando para poder escoger a las personas que van a asistir, porque tienen ciertos cupos. Entonces, por ejemplo, para el campamento que empieza en julio del siguiente año, del 2025, esas aplicaciones deben someterse antes de febrero 1 de 2025. Y si ellos tienen más espacios, encuentran más oportunidades financieras, abren un segundo round, una segunda opción para aplicar, que es durante abril y mayo. Michael recomienda que para obviamente aplicar, como les mencioné, hay becas donde ustedes pueden aplicar para poder recibir asistencia para poder asistir al programa. Y yo le pregunté que si las becas se aplican después de ser aceptado el programa, cómo funciona. Él me mencionó que sugiere que es muy importante aplicar a las becas primero antes de someter tu aplicación al programa, o lo puedes hacer al mismo tiempo, pero que sea antes de que te acepten al programa. Así obviamente si eres aceptado, tú ya tienes como un seguro de ayuda financiera que te van a estar ayudando a pagar el programa. Obviamente si no ocupas ayuda financiera, no hay necesidad de aplicar, pero si ocupan ayuda financiera para poder asistir a este programa y para poder pagarlo, solamente asegúrense de que las becas sean sometidas antes de la aplicación, y las becas las pueden encontrar bajo una sección que está ahí en scholarships en su página, nuevamente sciencecapsamerica.com. All right. I made sure to tell them all the information about scholarships, applications. You said the camp starts July 1st. Does it start July 1st every year, or do you adjust it according to?
We've every year we start July 1st. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Now. So it's been 8 years since you went to camp.
Yes.
And when you look back, what's the best memory you have from camp?
My best memory was the day we took in between both sessions, where it was just like the staff and then this other girl, I don't remember her name and I feel so bad, but she stayed behind with me, I remember, and we went out hiking to see the lava and the stars. And the first time I traveled back to Hawaii with my family, I was like, we have to travel out of the city, because we went to Oahu. I was like, we have to travel out of the city to like somewhere dark, because the view that I got to see that night, it was like a dream, and you'll never like see it anywhere else. Because in the States, lights everywhere, you don't get that view. So I was like, we have to go somewhere dark in the island and then go see that view. And I remember it was a really exhausting hike, the longest hike I've done, but it was so worth it.
Oh, that is also one of my best memories from all the different years of camp. It was a long hike. We were like 7 hours or something like that. But it was incredible. I don't know if you remember, we looked one way, there was like the lava flowing over the end of the cliff and the lake of lava. And if you turned around and looked the other way, there was a moonbow. And it was just incredible. And then we're walking, and do you remember we looked down between our feet and we saw red stuff, like glowing lava underneath the rocks we were walking on? We're like, okay, I think we've gone far enough. But that was an amazing night. That's a good memory.
It was something I always remember. And I'm glad I didn't have my phone back then. I think I had it that day because it was like in between sessions, like I mentioned. But I don't have any pictures of that night. And for some reason, I'm glad because it's just like engraved in my memory. It was really something unique. And I think I mentioned it when I contacted you back in the email, trying to contact you to get to this interview. I know it's not the same volcano, but I mentioned we were on the island of Maui, and I could see Mauna Kea from like one of the observatories we went to. So it was really cool, and I got really excited. I was like, "That's where I went the first time. That's like the view." Because we were at night, and I was showing my parents like the whole stars, the astrology, and I was trying to remember like everything you said that night, but obviously I didn't. But I was like, "That's the volcano I went to the first time," and it's like it's really cool. I get to see it after like so many years, and it was really cool.
Very nice. Very nice. You should translate your answer.
No. Yeah, of course. Bueno, Michael me estaba preguntando, él ahora me hizo una pregunta a mí y me dijo que cuál es la memoria que más recuerdo o mi memoria favorita durante mi tiempo en el campamento. Y yo le estaba platicando, fue un día que fuimos de hiking, fuimos a uno de los volcanes, porque si no saben, ahí en Hawái obviamente son puros volcanes, muchos de ellos están activos. Entonces fuimos a una caminata que duró aproximadamente 6 o 7 horas y eso fue entre las 2 sesiones. Entonces no fue parte de las sesiones, solamente fue durante porque yo me quedé para las 2. Entonces durante ese descanso, pues fuimos a esa caminata que duró aproximadamente 7 horas y fue como una vista increíble. Por primera vez en mi vida vi la lava de los volcanes, también estaba pues el cielo oscuro donde se podía ver toda la galaxia, todas las estrellas. Y recuerdo que cuando yo contacté a Michael para invitarlo a esta entrevista, recientemente había regresado de un viaje con mi familia a otra isla diferente. Y durante ese viaje que estábamos en uno de los volcanes de arriba, le mencioné que yo podía ver el volcán donde visitamos por primera vez a la isla de Hawái y les mencionaba, ahí está el volcán, le estaba platicando a mi familia, ese es el volcán que yo vi por primera vez, ahí es donde vi por primera vez esta vista. Entonces algo muy espectacular y algo que estoy segura que si alguno de sus hijos llega a este campamento va a venir con el mismo entusiasmo a contarles todo lo que vieron. So I just kind of added a little bit of that at the end, and I said, I'm sure if one of the kids from our audiences that is watching this, if one of the kids from here goes to the camp, I'm sure they're gonna come back with the same like enthusiasm, telling like the same stories I came back and told my parents.
So, yeah. We do have some greatest hits that we do every year. That's for sure.
Yeah, and also remember, it was some time back ago, I actually wanted to apply to go back as I'm not sure what the position you call them, but it's one of the like staff members or one of the camp leaders, I guess. I wanted to apply for a position for that. I think it was like 2 years ago, but I didn't get to because of work and stuff. So hopefully one of these years in the future I get to.
Well, it's very exciting. We've had this year and last year, 2 of our counselors have been former campers in each of those years. And to me, that's just amazing to see someone who came as, 15, 16-year-old, and then you're working alongside them. And that's really cool.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful experience. Like I mentioned before, overall what you learn in the camp and the island and the culture, everything is just mixed together and you just learn so much and then also get to appreciate everything you learn.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you. I just want to add one of the things most proud of about our camp is we do a lot of community service. I think we did a couple of things with you
Yeah.
But over the years, we've added more and more community service activities. So we are removing invasive plants and using Hawaiian methods to control erosion with indigenous methods. We're of course doing beach cleanups. We've done science fairs for kids who were displaced by the volcano, so they became homeless, and our campers went and put on a science fair for the Lord Camp. So those are the kinds of things that I'm most proud of and make up a big part of camp. And interestingly, it's like they're all among the campers' favorite things that they did. So if I ask people what their favorite things to do, they'll say, "Oh, it was pulling the invasive weeds on Mauna Kea, or working on that erosion project with the Hawaiians, or doing the beach cleanup at South Point. I mean, or working with the little kids at the 4th of July festival." So I think it's not only cool that we do these things, but that the campers put those among their favorite activities. So that's a lot of fun, and I'm very proud of that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So Michael nos contaba que no solamente en el campamento obviamente enseñan o tienen actividades, sino que también tienen actividades donde ofrecen oportunidades de servicio comunitario, como en el tiempo que yo asistí. Teníamos un día donde hicimos limpieza en el océano, obviamente levantando basura, todo tipo de basura, y ahora me cuenta que implementaron más actividades como recolectar plantas invasivas en obviamente ciertos lugares de las islas. También hacen ferias de ciencias para aquellos niños que fueron afectados por los volcanes, porque como mencioné en el pasado, hay muchos volcanes que aún están activos. Entonces hay muchas oportunidades realmente para crecer, no solamente para aprender, sino para crecer. Como yo les contaba también durante el campamento, pues nos dan como diferentes roles para ayudar a asistir en la limpieza, en la cocina, en checar el aceite del carro, todo eso nos enseñan. Entonces, realmente que nos enseñan mucho sobre la ciencia, sobre la isla, pero también sobre cómo ser un líder o cómo participar en servicios comunitarios y cómo también crecer. Y obviamente tenemos que tomar en cuenta que esto todo lo hacen con niños jóvenes que están en el 8 grado hasta la high school. Entonces hay que tomar eso en cuenta. I was mentioning that obviously you don't only get to learn like the science part of the camp, but you also get to learn obviously with the community service opportunities that you offer, but also like leadership skills, as we mentioned before, with the roles that you gave us to like help in the kitchen and cleaning and like checking the car oil, all of that.
There's another skill we've added to teaching over the last 5 or 6 years, which is it's actually a Hawaiian tradition or cultural activity. It's called kilo, K-I-L-O, kilo. And what it means in Hawaiian is, the literal translation is observe. But what it really means is to observe both inside and outside. So what we've done is we integrate this in a lot of different places we'll go, and we'll say, okay, everybody go off in kilo for 15 minutes. So everyone spreads out, finds a quiet place, sits down, and has time to kind of observe what's around them, but also spend time learning, how does this make me feel, right? Am I bored here? Am I excited here? Do I feel peaceful here? Right. And we try to teach this skill because life is so busy these days. Who has time to stop and think about what we're doing all day long, right? And why we're doing these things and what means something, what's important to us and what's not. So we've tried we'll do this not quite every day, but maybe every other day we'll be someplace or doing something, and everyone will just go off on their own and spend a few minutes and learn that skill of how do I spend 15 minutes with myself without a phone, and make it a meaningful 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I think I've learned from doing that, and I'm sure for young people who are even, way busier than I am, their lives are so busy. I think it's a super important skill, and if they can learn that at camp, they're coming out ahead too.
Yeah. O sea, algo que Michael estaba mencionando es también algo más que implementaron al campamento llamado kilo, que es una palabra hawaiana. Simplemente significa observar. Entonces les dan tiempo. Los muchachos obviamente ahora en día están ocupados. Él menciona que todo el mundo tiene una vida ocupada, ya sea con el teléfono, con cualquier cosa. Entonces, algo importante también de mencionar es que durante el campamento se les quita el teléfono, pero ninguna preocupación porque a Michael todos los días también oímos a los padres con todas las actividades que hicieron durante el día. Entonces, si su hijo o hija va a ir a ese campamento, pues va a recibir esos emails cada día de actualizaciones. Pero bueno, esta palabra significa observar y él básicamente durante las actividades del campamento les dice a los muchachos que solamente se tomen unos minutos para observar, para ver cómo se sienten, qué es lo que observan a su alrededor, qué es lo que los rodea, todo eso. Entonces es algo que no nada más aprenden y van a implementar en el campamento, sino obviamente también fuera de. All right. Well, we got into the end of our interview. Once again, thank you.
One more thing for you, which
is
we have a discount for your listeners.
Oh, okay.
So if they can use the code CHW25, and they'll get a 10% discount.
Oh, thank you so much. CHW25 for 10%, right?
For 10%, yeah.
Okay. Bueno, algo muy emocionante que nos acaba de anunciar Michael es que nos está ofreciendo un descuento para, obviamente, especial aquí para los aplicadores de aquí que van a venir de este video, de esta entrevista, y pueden usar el código CHW25 a la hora de aplicar si son aceptados al programa por 10% de descuento en el costo del campamento. Thank you so much, Michael, for that. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you. They're definitely going to be special with this discount.
That's fine. That's wonderful. I'm so. It's been a lot of fun to talk to a former camper. I don't have many opportunities to do that, but people occasionally will call or email, and it's always so much fun to know how camp impacted them, if it did at all.
Yeah,
so that's fun.
Thank you so much, and it was definitely really fun also talking to you, getting to also kind of share like the little moments that I didn't share with you back then. So I'm really glad we got to connect, that I got to share some stuff with you, that I also now get to share this with my community, the community that I work with, and then hopefully they will take advantage of this opportunity. And then hopefully I get to hear about someone getting accepted into the program, and then I'm excited to hear about their stories if they attend the program. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was so much fun.
No, thank you. Is there anything else you want to say before leaving? Anything, maybe something you forgot, something you want to mention?
No, I want to thank you for coming to camp all those years ago. It's the campers that make camp such a fun and enjoyable career for me. We've had over 350 campers come through this camp over the years, and I honestly feel I remember every single one. I may not get your name, but I do remember you. So it's that's been the real joy of doing this, is meeting so many young people, seeing their enthusiasm for life and for the environment and for wanting to do something with their lives that has some meaning. And that is so renewing for me. Year after year, summer after summer, I just get reignited with enthusiasm and optimism, which is really cool. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for joining me on this talk. And I really push anyone who's listening to this chat between Michael and I to apply to the program if you have the chance to. Trust me, it'll be an unique experience and you will learn so much. And then maybe in the future you will also have this chat with Michael. Entonces,
thank you.
Realmente empujo a que aquellos que tengan la oportunidad de aplicar, si están entre las edades, visiten la página para aprender más sobre este programa y realmente les aconsejo que visiten, digo que apliquen porque realmente es una experiencia única y no se van a arrepentir. So once again, here's the website for Science Camp. So sciencecamp.america.com. Make sure you go check them out, apply for scholarships if you need them, and then just look over throughout the whole program. If you're not able to attend, share it with other people who might be interested. And then, yeah, once again, thank you so much, Michael, for being with me and then sharing your knowledge, your stories, and then also the whole application process for the program.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you soon, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Bye.